The first thing I'd say, it is always barbecue season.
Welcome to a brand new season of Borough Talks, the Borough Market podcast. I'm author and food writer Giulia Crouch, and in each episode I'll be sitting down with the traders at London's most iconic market to get to know the stories behind the stalls.
People come to a market for an experience. They come open-eyed and hungry.
As you walk through the market, you are immediately hit by its smells, sounds and sights. Freshly baked bread, towers of cheese.
It's hard as a rock, it doesn't need a fridge, and it's used to season your foods.
Cups of steaming coffee, the shucking of oysters, and hot, sizzling pans. It's a treasure trove of deliciousness. Each trader has a unique story to tell.
What would you order?
Laksa. It's a curry noodle soup from Singapore, Malaysia.
So much of the joy of food is sharing it with other people, and that's what Borough Market is all about. We'll be taking you with us as we discover the passion, expertise, and characters that make Borough Market so unique, as we share good food with the people who live and breathe it every day.
Cheers, guys.
This is Borough Talks.
So I'm very excited to be here with two amazing restaurant owners in Borough Market. We've got David Carter of Oma and Rob Dann of Bedales Wine Bar. First, Rob, you've been here for a long time in the market. Tell me about how this all came about. How did you arrive in Borough Market?
I'm not sure this podcast's long enough for the whole story, to be honest. The short version of it is I was in culinary school in New York. I worked with operators over there. I lived in London before that, and Borough Market was one of my favorite destinations. I came back to London visiting family and knew the wine bar of a little wine shop here in the market who was going through a tough time. I was looking for a way out, and I think my wife couldn't wait to come back to London, frankly. I saw an opportunity to take over an existing but struggling business and to really kind of turn it around and make something great here.
And what was it about the market that you found so attractive?
Markets, I think, generally, have a gravitas. It has an osmosis effect, and people come to a market for an experience. They come open-eyed and hungry and thirsty and really want to have something that they can't get anywhere else. And it's social. They want to be around people. So markets have this incredible gravity to them, and especially one located in London Bridge. I mean, such an incredible location.
It's an iconic market.
Yeah.
It really is special. It has a kind of mysterious, exciting feeling to it. So David, for you, tell us about your two new restaurants and why you wanted to be in the market.
It's a good question. Well, first of all, I didn't start off as two restaurants. I think probably similar to Rob, when you look at a building, you look at infrastructure and it kind of speaks to you. And I think with this current site, how it's sort of set up, it's a bit ironic because the first floor is a lot bigger than the ground floor. And with that, we knew the first floor had to be sort of, the main event. And 99% of restaurants, you spend all your money on the ground floor to make that your main thing, really. And I think that kind of spoke to us. And I think part of the attraction of the market is who's around you. I think the restaurant industry, there's a lot of camaraderie. There's a lot of people that want to see each other do well. There's obviously, Rob's here. There's recent operators, Collet, Rambutan, Camille. So you really want to be around good company. So I think it was a combination of numerous things, and it's also 10 minutes away from home, and it sounds really stupid, but when you're at hospitality hours, I can cycle back in 10 minutes and be here in 10 minutes. When we had a site in Soho, it was like 25, and it's like, it feels a lot less painful to kind of get to work, especially because I'm still doing the hard yards now. Hopefully one day I can kind of step back a bit more, but then when you're in service a lot, you want to be very accessible.
100%. So tell me about the food then. So you've got two concepts, haven't you? Downstairs you've got Agora and upstairs you've got Oma, and they're a bit of a different vibe. What kind of food can people find at both of them?
Yeah, they're totally different. Agora translates as market in Greek, and it's pretty much an extension of that. So the shopfront's designed to open up onto the streets, no bookings, very accessible from a price point, very accessible from a menu. There's nothing too intimidating on the menu, only a couple of dishes above £10. And it's designed to emulate the sort of streets and the vibrance and the grit of Athens. Where upstairs, it's almost designed to be an extension of the market. Almost the opposite, it means raw. Almost people want to escape from the market. It's like, that's great, but I want a bit more tranquility, a bit more vibe away from it. And it's designed to be more of a, I don't say destination, but it's committal. So you make a booking, then you come to it. You don't chance it. And more based around fish and seafood, and it's a bit more of a classic starter, main, dessert type thing. The menu isn't structured that way, but you're there for 2 hours. We're downstairs 15 minutes, 45 minutes, 2 hours. Like we really don't know.
So it's elevated both like conceptually and the fact that it's upstairs.
Completely, and I think it kind of spoke to us that it was on the first floor. It had to be something that where people kind of like, you can't see it to be honest with you. Like nobody looks up when you're walking at street level. Nobody ever looks up.
That's
so
true.
we had to do it in a way that it was a reason to come up these stairs. So yeah, I guess it's elevated in that sense. Yeah.
So you guys already know each other, you're mates, right? Tell me how you know each other.
I think Dave moved in. He didn't say it at the beginning, but he should have said he moved in because I was his neighbour. That was the reason. I was waiting for him to say it, to be honest. No, we used to be neighbours back in the day at Street Feast in Dalston Yard. Dave, the genius obviously behind Smokestack, and I launched here in the market Bob's Lobster, and quickly started trading at Street Feast alongside Dave. So we were the ultimate sort of surf and turf combo, really, I think, at the time. Timing and life, love, investment is everything. We were very lucky to be on the crest of the wave kind of at that time at London street food sort of scene in a phenomenal sort of setting with a lot of hype, and I think to be sort of neighboured with someone as passionate and as creative as David. So that's kind of where we go back.
How does it feel to be neighbours once again?
Yeah, I mean, it's a funny one because like when we started off, we had this massive 4.5 ton. All black t-shirts, really, really grubby, and then Rob rocks up in this like absolute lipstick red Volkswagen van, bow ties, and we couldn't have been further apart in terms of brand identity. Yeah. But very, very close in terms of, I guess, in how we kind of view the industry and how we view hospitality and stuff like that. When I saw this site, I came to Rob, I was like, look, I've got something to tell you. We're actually maybe moving next door. I said, how do you feel about it? And like he gave us our blessing, and like based on that, it was like shook hands and we went for it. As I said before, there's a lot of camaraderie in the industry, but my history or our history doesn't probably go back as long as that for everybody. I mean, we're talking about 12 years now, no? 11 years, something like that. So a long time ago. So I think, most people that I know in the industry, I was still employed when I started Smokestack. So I was sort of moonlighting and being a bit naughty. I didn't tell my bosses, obviously, but I was just sacked. I was sort of moonlighting. And then that's how we got to know each other. And then years later, still very much in
Comes around again.
Yeah, exactly.
So Rob, you've been in Borough Market for a long time. What is the ethos behind Bedales Wine Bar, and why do you think it's had this amazing longevity?
We try and keep it simple, quality, and also sensory pleasure is the core of what we do, wrapped around our culture of hospitality. We really try and get to know our customers, our guests, and give them a sort of bespoke experience. We know that wine can be intimidating, and I think really we try and champion all of our suppliers, whether that's small wine producers, the market traders, where a lot of the food that we source comes from.
On your back.
So I think that you guys are both in really interesting buildings within the market. So Rob, this is actually an old potato store, is that right?
Yeah, there's a lot of soul to this building. I mean, I think that was part of the attraction and draw in the first place. You just love at first sight, and as Dave already mentioned, when you're looking at sites as a sort of restaurateur and looking to build a business, you want something to speak to you to that effect. Can people, does it have soul? Does it have history? Can you create something unique here? The potato store is an incredible built space, and it runs 3 levels. The ceilings on the ground floor and first floor are 4.5 meters, 5 meters high. It has a trap door running through all 3 levels of the building, and there used to be a pulley system for sacks of potatoes going up and down. I even met, actually, a few years ago, the daughters of the original owner some 80 years ago.
That's amazing.
And 2 girls, older ladies now, but used to go up and down in that
I love
on
it.
that pulley through the levels. They had so many stories. I mean, it was a veg store as well, and they used to get crates of bananas from the Caribbean, and occasionally there'd be some pretty gigantic spiders in those boxes of bananas. So
Let's
they used
hope
to
they're not here now.
call London Zoo. No, absolutely not. Wine's a little bit safer that way.
And David, you've got this massive window on the ground floor, and I read that you're kind of interested in the smell of the food seeping out and it being quite accessible and affordable, and like the idea of a market. Tell me about how the kind of architecture of the building affected what you did with the space.
Yeah, it's an interesting one because this building we're not as fortunate as Rob in terms of history. This building got bought in the viaduct in 2013. So they knocked it flat and they built essentially a bunker. When I say bunker, it's like concrete and it's literally reinforced. So even the ceiling is, even the roof, is made of concrete. So we just said, look, how do we, and the shop fronts are different on both floors. We have, part of the building has a historic shop front, same level as Rob's, but then it dips down pretty fast after that. And then both of them are completely different contrasting size, and they're also quite low. So I think the ceiling height before was like 2.2 or 2.3. Our windows are now 2.8, and we just want to have natural light flood in. We want to feel part of the market, and the only way you can kind of do it, well, there's a few ways you can do it, but one of the ways is just open it up. And we've got a special sort of heating system in it that hopefully in winter we'll be able to use it, where it blows sort of sheets of hot air down to kind of keep out, repel rather, the cold air coming in. And the idea is that even during winter, maybe not the height of winter, but definitely the majority of it, we'll be able to leave the shop front open as it feels that part of it really. And I love design. I love making life hard on ourselves. So we sort of mirrored that on the backside as well, where we knocked out the entire, most of it at least, the entire elevation to connect the terrace to the actual restaurant. So especially in days like today where it's a lovely day, we can literally open up the entire shop front on the back and it feels like one restaurant. It doesn't feel like two. And I think in design, fluidity is pretty important, and ergonomics and how people kind of feel.
Absolutely.
And that whole emotion that goes behind dining. So yeah, we put a lot of effort into like the emotion of that really.
I think it creates quite a sensory experience, and like you're part of this like bigger ecosystem in the market, and everything's kind of connected together. How do you both feel that running a restaurant or a wine bar in Borough Market is different to another location?
So Agora, the name Agora means market. I think the restaurant was built and designed for that, and I think the market has some areas where it's really, really quite hectic, and I think we're in a hectic part, but not overly so, in a good way. So I think having it part and parcel of the market is we wouldn't have built it if it wasn't here, to be fair. So it's directly reflective of that.
Yeah, there aren't many places in London that has the footfall of obviously of Borough Market, and you've got that sort of trifecta of, again, culinary explorers, international tourism, a lot of local businesses, both sides of the river with easy access, mega hub transport links, into London Bridge, and residents as well. So you constantly have this replacement effect of one group to another, and crossover throughout the week. I mean, we are open 7 days, and the market is obviously open 6 days a week now, which is something that's grown over the years also. But no, it's really an incredible destination.
I don't know about you guys, but I'm pretty hungry. So I hear you've brought some stuff in for us to try.
Apparently, I want to try Rob's.
Hungry and thirsty.
Well, I was going to say, it's what's the time? It's 10:30. I think we should open a bottle of wine.
I think we should.
Get the day started.
It's a lovely
right?
summer's day. So Rob, what have you brought for us?
So, breakfast.
Cheeky breakfast wine.
Yeah, cheeky breakfast rosé.
It's an absolutely gorgeous colour. I've never actually seen a rosé this colour. It's almost slightly orangey.
So this is quite different and very Bedales-esque. Quite different from the sort of Provence, southern France style rosés. This is actually a southern Italian rosé.
Ooh, where from?
From Chiro,
okay.
Which is if you imagine the boots of Italy, this is the heel, basically.
Love that. Really down south.
This is Calabrian, basically.
Oh, cool. Okay.
For me, this is something I'm very fond of for many reasons, but this I think exemplifies the sort of food and wine pairings that I think are fun that we can have with wines because of its position between the sea and the mountains. It really does have a great minerality and actually salinity, which makes it such a good food pairing wine.
So what would you pair it with?
Honestly, anything that is, I would go from, considering you have probably 200 plus miles of coastline there, anything from the sea that has also salinity and is fresh would work really well. pastas, vegetables, salads. This is a food wine through and through.
It's absolutely delicious.
Yeah.
So what snacks have you brought us to go with the wine?
So, talking about salinity and also just simple flavors, I don't think you can go wrong with Gildas. So
One of the best snacks.
It's just such a good bar snack. And
Can you explain what it is if people don't know?
So a Gilda is effectively a Spanish pincho. So it's very common in sort of northern Spain, San Sebastian, and throughout Spain really. It's this amazing trifecta of salty, briny olives with pickled guindilla chilies, which have a little bit of heat, and then normally there's an anchovy kind of threaded through, all on a little skewer. A recent discovery, however, and a little bit of flair are these incredible smoked anchovies, which just adds a little bit of extra warmth and I think sustain. But
Sounds
again,
amazing.
I think it will pair
Like a
really
depth,
well with the wine. Yeah,
a depth to
exactly,
it. Where did you
flavor.
find these smoked anchovies?
So these are from the market, so from Brindisa, in fact. So
The texture of those anchovies is amazing. Like you really get a kind of meatiness. They're not slimy in any way. Really moorish, like with a saltiness, but not too intense. And you can get that. Like, it's quite a subtle smoke, I would say, in the background. And it's just absolutely perfect with the wine. Once you finish that little morsel of food, the wine just washes it all away, and they complement each other so wonderfully. Like that's just a perfect combination.
and I think the heat of the guindilla, again, it's subtle enough, but gives you that kick that you want to have a glass of wine, but also kind of go back for more. Heat is
100%.
addictive that way.
And I know what
Yeah.
you're saying about like the coastline. It kind of makes you think of the seaside, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Like the heat of the sun, and then like the
And-
saltiness and refreshingness of the sea. That is kind of that in a
And
mouthful.
so this is a very acidic wine, and acidic I think is often confused for maybe a bad thing in wine, but
Right.
actually acidity when it comes to food pairings is what you want.
Exactly what you need
Exactly
to
what
cut
you
through
need.
like the
Correct.
umami, the fattiness of
Correct.
the anchovy, and the kind of brininess of everything else.
Absolutely.
So together, they make each other better, don't they?
Without question.
And that's a big part of Bedales is the food pairings. It's not just about the wine.
We put a lot of time and thought and tastings, but at the same time, what's more important is pairing it to the person.
Okay.
So it is the food and the wine is something that is what people come to Bedales expect. I think the reason why people come back is because the way we make them feel, customizing that experience and making recommendations that we feel strongly about that they will enjoy
Yeah,
and
definitely.
want to share with others.
It's convivial, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's about a community. So what have you brought for us to try?
So we've brought for you to try, this is probably the least Greek dish we have on the menu. But we did a lot of traveling for the concept, so Japan, LA, New York, Tel Aviv, obviously Greece, Istanbul. And then this was kind of inspired by a trip we took to LA, where we had this most amazing hummus, but it was made with cannellini beans, which are a lot more
Oh yeah, they whiz up a bit smoother.
completely. So it was really emulsified, really, really smooth, and you had a duck andouille. And we kind of like took that theory as like, how do we kind of apply this to a dish? So we've got a labneh at the bottom, which is a hung yogurt, and it's a salt cod XO. So it's essentially loads of salt cod in there, loads of fish sauce, umami central, and then we put crispy shallots in it as well to give it some texture. And one of the things we do, I think, well at your restaurant is bread. So we have a bakery downstairs,
Yeah.
but 4-5 bakers in the team, and because Agora is flatbreads and morning buns, and then Oma, we obviously do a lot of dips, so you have to have, I think, at least decent bread. You can have rubbish dips, but you got to have good breads. So we do an achma, a laffa, a malawa, which is like a roti type thing, and then this is a laffa. So the idea is when people come to the restaurant, you start with breads and dips, like how the UK start with bread and butter. We just have a more jazzed up version, for lack of better words. And
How
yeah,
would you describe this bread?
it's a Yemeni bread. It's literally cooked a la minute, so it's cooked to order. So that's what I think what makes it amazing. Loads of olive oil, loads of salt, and we grill it to order. So it's a flat bread essentially. So yeah.
It looks gorgeous. I'm going to just dig in.
Yeah.
And so I love the idea that you're a London restaurant inspired by Greece. You're not setting out to be a Greek restaurant, are you?
I think part of the joy of being in the restaurant industry is you get to be creative and apply what you think works and what you do well. It's easy to take a concept to Verna and literally copy and paste it and chuck it in London. that potentially, is probably a little bit of an easier route. I mean, this one was a lot of research. I mean, that plate's from Japan, that plate's from Belgium, that bread's from Yemeni.
This bread is amazing. I love it. It's kind of like a bit doughy, like got a kind of almost like a stodge to it in a really good way. Do you know what I mean? And like the oil and how it's grilled. And I just love the fact that bread is quite a big focus for you.
I think when you have a site that size, it allows you afford a lot of things. I don't mean that financially, I mean that in terms of infrastructure. So it affords you to have a bakery, it affords you to have a bakery team. It affords certain things. I mean, I love bread. I mean, I can eat. I absolutely love bread.
That's sometimes my favourite part of going to a restaurant is the bread. If you get like phenomenal bread, butter or oil or whatever they put with it, I'm so happy.
Yeah.
I quite like simplicity, or like simplicity just done really well, where you get something quite honest and humble, but it's incredible. I feel like that's quite thrilling in a restaurant.
I think there's a sort of chemical reaction with bread, in the body though, isn't there? It's the sugar, it's the salt, it's the fat, it's the etc. That if you are given bread as the first thing you have and very quickly, then it does evoke something, happiness.
100%.
A lot like ice cream, I think.
Yes. Bread is just like a life giver, isn't it? It's so comforting.
Secret restaurateur trick, I think.
Yeah.
And we're very lucky in Borough Market because, I don't have the space and I mean, this bread is unbelievable.
Oh, it's unbelievable.
I'm not sure I could do it if I tried, to be honest, but
I couldn't do it.
I source my bread. And we go through, I don't know how many hundreds of loaves a week through Bread Ahead and Olivia's Bakery here in the market as well. And the quality, again, is fantastic.
You're very, very lucky.
It's a staple of kind of what we do, and it's nice to shout about that.
So tell me about some of the other dishes on the menu. What are some of the signature dishes? Maybe let's start at Agora.
Good question. So flatbreads, we do like a spanakopita flatbread.
Oh, that sounds nice.
So spanakopita is classic spinach and feta in a pastry. So because it's in a flatbread, we do a cream spinach of sorts. We spike it with loads of feta to give it that umami and salinity. And then obviously a flatbread doesn't have the same texture as filo pastry, so we sort of emulate that with sort of potato crisp on top. So again, it's a very deconstructed, version of what we do there. And I think then we do a lot of skewers in the beginning. Which emulates sort of souvlaki, so a pork skewer, lamadana, and that kind of emulates it. I think those are probably downstairs what I'd go for. And then upstairs, again, we do a spanakopita with the malawa, so doubling down on the bakery. Mm-hmm. We do a malawa, which is like a type of roti.
Okay.
And it's grilled to order, pan fried to order on a griddle. And the malawa again is the spanakopita again is taking the idea of the cream spinach idea, and it's a deconstructed version. It's quite labor intensive, involves a hell of a lot of process, but I think the result is there. So again, doubling down on the bread side of it.
I want to know how you choose what type of restaurants to open, because you've got like a barbecue place, you've got an Italian influence place, and now you've done Greek. It doesn't seem like they link together. It's not like you've just done the same thing the whole time.
No.
How do you choose where to go?
I think, to be honest with you, a large part of it is influenced by travel. I don't necessarily have a beacon or idea, but I think when you sort of travel quite a bit, you get sort of inspired, and hospitality is in our blood, right? It's you either have it or you don't. And it's kind of, I never really travel I do it a bit, to be fair, but I travel a bit for work, but I more travel for pleasure.
Yeah.
And you happen to see things along the way that actually translate, and you're like, well, cool, that could I work in London. But to be fair, for every 10 ideas you have, one is good. There's a lot of rubbish along the way. And you kind of like formulate these sort of ideas, and if you look at the menu we had for Oma, it was like this big, and now it's so minuscule now compared to the ideas.
Really?
And I think narrowing it down to one concept, and there's actually a spit off of this, so because upstairs is, I guess, elevated, downstairs is very street. There's a taverna somewhere in the middle, where there's a lot of dishes we couldn't do for this, or we couldn't do for downstairs. So there may perhaps is an idea there for like a taverna, because dishes you couldn't do because of infrastructure, because of space, because of demands, because of customer demands, because of needs, whatever. So I think it all kind of comes at a time where you can have capacity to think about it, and I think a bored mind is a creative mind. So the minute this kind of gets settled, 6 months later, something will kind of come up. You start thinking again. But I don't ever want to do the same thing twice. I think it's sort of, I really, really love the creative side of it. So long as we can still be creative and think outside the box, then great. But every time is a risk, though, right? So we know we gamble every time.
It's making it 10 times harder.
Doing different things.
For sure. There's easier ways of making money in the world.
Definitely.
Oh, sure.
That's for sure. So, it's love. Generally, it's when you experience something and the overriding sensation is this needs to be shared. And, then I think, that's where my motivation starts. Sometimes you meet people and say, this guy, this girl also needs to be, up there on the limelight. What they do is amazing, and you want to support, and you really want to help people in that way if you can. And sometimes, it is the location and the space that talks to you as well.
Yeah. You're passionate people, you're enthusiasts, and when you see something that's really exciting, you want to manifest it and make it happen, and it's just so fun that you can manage to do that.
It's very, very lucky, I think, to be able to do that and to have found a small degree of success in doing that, to allow us to continue to be creative and to keep on building.
Well, thank you so much, guys. This has been a fascinating chat, delicious food, brilliant morning wine, and just a pleasure to speak to you both. So thank you so much.
Thank you for having us.
Thanks for listening to this episode of Borough Talks. Make sure you follow the podcast so you don't miss an episode, and we can't wait to see you next time.
Cheers, guys.
Borough Talks was hosted by me, Giulia Crouch. Produced by James Deacon. Video content by Piers Hunt Dann. Audio, editing and sound design by Chris Attaway. Special thanks to Nina and Bethan at Borough Market, Becky at Tape, and everyone who spoke to us and fed us. This has been a Tape production.
Thank you very much. Good one, yeah?